writing. What is a letter? One may ask, what is a letter? Is anything that is written from a letter? No. Simply put, letter is a written medium of communication which exists between or among people. I say a letter is a written medium of communication which exists between or among people. In fact, that is why we call it letter writing. It is always in written form, not in spoken form. We don't have letter speaking or letter spoken, but we have letter writing, which means letters are usually in written form. They are in written form, they are not in spoken form. So they belong to the written discourse of English language. The written discourse, that means the aspect that we write, not the aspect that we speak. Alright. Now, these letters, we use them to communicate, we use them to pass information, to communicate between us and other people. An individual can write a letter to another individual. An individual can also write a letter to a group of people. A group of people can also write a letter to another group of people. A group of people can also write a letter to an individual. A firm can also write a letter to another firm, like that. So it's not only a person writing to another. There are different types of letters which we are going to see. So when one is writing a letter, there are certain things one should know before you begin to write. In the first place, we should know that letters are not the same. We have different types of letters. In fact, we have 3 different types of letters. We have 3 different types of letters, which include 1, the informal. The informal letter. We also have the formal letter. We also have the semi-formal letter. The semi-formal letter. Now, one may ask, what are these letters? They are all letters, but they are not the same. And each and every one of them has its own format, its own method. There's a method you will use in writing formal letter. There's also a method you use in writing informal letter. There's also a method you use in writing semi-formal letter. You don't write an informal letter like a formal letter. You don't write a formal letter like a semi-formal. So they have their formats, and they belong to different groups, just as the names are here. Today we are going to kick off with the first type of letter, and that is the informal letter. Why do we call them informal? What is informal? What makes them informal? And what type of letter, what types of letters do we call informal letter? What kind of letter we say, and we say that this letter is informal? And finally, how do we write them? These are the things we are going to consider here today. Now, just as the name goes, informal letter. That means the letter is informal. Why? Because it makes use of unofficial languages. We make use of informal languages. Now, who are those that receive this letter or these letters? We usually say that an informal letter is a letter which one writes to one's relations or friends. I repeat, an informal letter is a letter which one writes to one's relations or friends. An informal letter is a letter which one writes to one's relations or friends. Which means there are 2 groups of people that receive this type of letter we call it informal. If not your relations, they are your friends. Remember, we didn't say letters written to your family friend. We didn't say letter written to your father's friend. We didn't say letters written to your mother's friend, but we said letters written to your friends or your relations or relatives. We call them the informal letters. So as long as that letter is written to your friend or your relations, we say it is informal. Now, how do we write such letters? Let's go to the next stage. The fonts. Now, the informal letter has the following fonts. 1. Writer's address. 2. We also have the date. 3. We have the salutation. 4. We have the body. 5. We have the complementary clause. These are the 5 items that must be considered when writing an informal letter. The first one is the writer's address. The second one is the date. The third one is the salutation. The fourth one is the body. And the fifth one is the complementary clause. Every of these items must be represented in the letter if it must be complete. Right, let's begin with the first item, that is the writer's address. The writer's address. Now, why do we call it writer's address? We call it writer's address because this address is the address of the writer. It belongs to the writer. It is not any other person's address. Rather, you that is writing this letter has this address, which means you will write your address there. Now, where do we write this address? We write it at the top right side of the script. Top right, which means the script will be divided into 2 in your mind. You divide the script into 2 in your mind. As you divide the script, of course, we know we have the margin, which we call the margin line. Then, on your mind, you divide the script into 2. You are not going to use biro to divide it, but you divide it into 2, just on your mind as you write. Now, you begin from that middle of that page, and you write the address. Assuming you are writing the address of your school is acceptable, address of your church acceptable, address of your residence acceptable. So it depends on where you are writing from. When we write address, we write address so that the receiver of this letter will know where you are writing from, which means the address will indicate your location as you write this letter. Now let me coin one address. We have Ntiga Secondary Grammar School. Let me make it to enter now. Ntiga Secondary Grammar School. This is the name of a secondary school. And I have written the name here. I've written it here. Now, there is something you observe in my address. What you observe there is that all the words, that the name of this school is written in one line. I did not write Ntiga Secondary Grammar, I come and write school. No, you don't do that. You don't split the name of the institution you're using. Rather, you make sure that the name of the institution enters in one line. Secondly, If the name of your institution is too long, there are some names of institutions that are too long. In Tiga Comprehensive International Secondary School, one school, you find out that if you are writing that here, there's no way it will enter. So if the name of your school is too long to be accommodated in one line, you abbreviate the name. You can write in Tiga SEC, SEC dot. Grammar, GRAM dot. Then school, SCH dot. You now see that the line will accommodate the name of the school without splitting it. Then at the end, I put comma. I will explain that better. Now, maybe PNB 2013 we usually say Mbausi, then Abia State. I put comma here, I put comma here, I put full stop here. Now, why did I end here? Why didn't I put Nigeria? You can equally put Nigeria, but Nigeria will be added if this letter is going abroad. That means if it is going outside the shores of this country, that's when you put Nigeria. You put the name of the country if the letter is going to another country. You don't put the name of the country if the letter is going within the country. So assuming this letter is going abroad, I will put Nigeria. Then I will put comma here and put Nigeria. Remember, if this letter is not going abroad, putting Nigeria is an error. You will lose mark. So you put Nigeria if this letter is going abroad, and the stop in the state if this letter is not going abroad. Now, if you look at what I have done here, this is a typical example of what an address of the writer is. And one thing important is that all the words I've written in this address start with capital letters. Yes, look at my Antigua, look at SGS, PNB. All these words that we use in the address start with capital letter, and they must be like that. Now, there are two types of addresses. We have what we call the block address, we also have what we call the slant address. What I have just written here is the block address. And I have punctuated it. We also have punctuated and unpunctuated. Punctuation means putting all these commas and put full stop here. Now, the rule says if you are punctuating, you punctuate all the lines. If you are leaving it, you leave all the lines, which means I can equally remove all these commas and the full stop and leave it like that. It now becomes the block unpunctuated address. But as it is now, it is called the block punctuated address. So you can punctuate, you can leave it. Then there's another type of address we call the slant address. In that one, we slant it. Let me give you an indication. If I'm writing a slant now, look at what it will be like. Now here I'll begin my P here, NB, then 2013, then I will slant my Mbausi. I'll begin Mbausi, then I'll put Abia State here. Then I'll put my Nigeria here. If I want to punctuate, then I punctuate all. Now look at it. This one is called a slant. But this type of address is usually used by people that are careful, because if you are not very careful and organized, you may make mistakes, and before you know it, you've gone off from the style. Now look at what I did. The second line begins under the second letter of the up line, of the words up. So I will begin like that. If I come to the third one, I will just begin the line from the second letter of the up line, like that. That's what I've done. So at the end, if you draw a line like this now, you see that your line will be slant. That's what we usually call it, the slant address. Now, when you are writing, you must be very careful to maintain. I didn't just begin my lines anywhere I like. Students sometimes don't really know how to do it. They will write as they like. So you don't shift this line more than the second letter of the upline. If you do that, you are against the rule. So you make sure you maintain the line the way it should be. that is following the second letter of the outline in all your lines, so that at the end you get a slant line. Now, why we don't usually encourage students to use this, especially in exam situation, is this. When students are in the hall, they always tensed up. We call it exam fever, exam tension. Sometimes they'll begin to slant, because some students like slanting. When they begin to slant, they slant the second line. Then when they want to write the third line, they forget that they have started slanting already. They now write this M under P. And if you write this M under P, two things are involved. Either you cancel it, and you are using ink. It's not something you erase. So if you write M here and cancel it, you see what it will be like. You cancel it like this, and you rewrite. Look at what it will look like. So it will look very dirty and unorganized. So why we say that is that students that are not very careful and organized should not be using this type of we call it slant, because they may not be able to maintain it. If you know you are organized and you are a student that is very careful, you can use it. It looks good also. So you either use this or you use the previous one, which is known as the block. Any one you use is acceptable. You see, you can also punctuate this. You can also leave it. If you like, you punctuate. If you like, you leave it. Both of them